Bernard C. Bieker, B-I-E-K-E-R.
All right,
Bernard, yes, you know how to spell that.
All right, so you were in World War II,
Right.
correct? Now, do you remember what you were doing or what you were busy with in life when you heard about the start of the war?
Well, I was working at an international shoe factory.
Oh.
And then they had the draft, and I come up pretty soon on the draft. So I spent 37 months in service. I went in on
What branch did you join?
Army. I was drafted.
All right. What boot camps did you attend, and what were those like?
What camps?
Yeah, your boot camps.
Well, I was inducted on Jefferson Barracks. And from Jefferson Barracks, I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. That's where I took my basic training. And I was down there 13 weeks. And then from there, I went to Fort Bliss, Texas. Yeah, let's see, I was in Fort Bliss till April, I think. Then we shipped out, and then we went to Fort Bliss, Texas. That was sometime in April when I went down to Fort Bliss, and that's where I took my basic training at Fort Sill. And when I went down to Fort Bliss, I was put in an outfit, a mule pack troop outfit. And I was down there from April until about, I guess, October. Then we got ready to go overseas. We trained. We was training how to pack animals, just like that. Just about all farm boys that was in service had anything to do with mules. Theirs was mule pack. That's how I ended up in mule pack. And then when we trained down at Fort Bliss till about October, I guess. Then from there we shipped overseas. We went down to Baton Rouge in Louisiana, and from there we shipped out on the 1st November 1943.
Where were you shipped to?
Well, we was supposed to go to someplace in India, but we didn't quite get there. We got, after we was on the ship, 57 days we were sunk. I was on the ship that was sunk. We was sunk on the 27th of December. We had 274 mules and 26 horses on the ship. And there was about 350 people on the ship. And we got sunk early in the morning. And torpedo hit between the first and second hatch hole of the ship. And then they got us off in lifeboats. We was in 10 lifeboats. This was early in the morning, right about daybreak when this happened. And then that night, the 10 of us, we was all tied together. and they come up with a submarine. They lined us up in our ship. It's fair on getting us in our ship. Same time, but they were too deep for us, so that if it wouldn't been too deep, I might not have been here.
So their submarine came to find you guys?
We was out there about 2 days in this lifeboat, and then they picked us up in what they call a British Corvette. It was manned by the Indians. But we was out there 34 hours from the time we was hit until we was picked up. Not scary at all. No, I don't have any use of that water. Kids want me to go here or go there, but I don't have any use for it.
So after you got back to land, what did you do then?
They took us into Cochin, India. Cochin.
And what were your responsibilities there?
Stay alive. Boy, we didn't have no responsibilities at that time, because we was out in nowhere. They didn't know what to do with us. Didn't have nothing to eat for us. The ravens and everything was hungrier than we were. But we was down at Cochin for about 2 weeks before we got transportation to the west side of India, a port. I can't think of the name right now. The port that we was shipped from Cochin to. Or I don't want to think about it. I can think about it. And from there, I could just think that is a port, west side of India. And I think from there we were shipped to Burma. And we spent about 2 weeks on a train. They traveled real fast. They did until the Americans got a hold of them. Then when you see a train coming down the track, you see a little train coming down. You just about figure an American was on the command of that. But those old steam engines and things like that, narrow gauge tracks. But we was 2 weeks going across India before we got to the outfit that we was really supposed to be with. They had a place for us, and when we got there, they had all figured out where we was going to put each one of us, what we was going to do. But we wasn't aware of that. We went to this unit that we went with was Uncle Sam. He called for. He called for 3,000 infantry combat engineers, and well, they ended up at 2,700. And well, that was the infantrymen, and then where we come in, they needed something to carry the equipment like machine guns or heavy stuff. I myself, they stuck a 47-pounder radio on me. I was put with one of the officers in charge, and I was with him all the way through this first campaign, Northern Burma campaign. I was with him all the way. He was my foxhole buddy. He was a New York banker. Ted Hughes was his name. Mm-hmm. And I was with him the whole Northern Burma campaign till he was taken out at the airfield that we captured, Missional Airfield. Myitkynia. The Japs had the field, but we took the airfield over, and that's why they started bringing supplies into China. A lot of younger people wasn't aware of that China was cut off from the rest of the world. The Japanese had them cut off, and they had the Burma Road cut, and that's how they was getting their supplies to China. But the Chinese, the only supplies they was getting, what the Americans was bringing to them over the hump at the Himalaya Mountains. As it was as high as 8,000 foot in the Himalayas.
So were you one of the people that would go over and drop off food?
Do what?
Were you one of the people that would fly over to get them food?
I didn't get the last part.
Were you one of the men that would fly over to drop off supplies?
No.
Nope.
We was on the receiving end.
Receiving.
We was looking right manna from heaven. No, all our food, ammunition, everything was parachuted to us. We were supposed to get a drop about every 4 days, but sometimes we wouldn't get that. Thinking, you know what K-rations was like. I ate those from about the latter part of January to the latter part of May. Ain't nothing to live on. You exist, that's all. We had to admire those guys that dropped that stuff off to us. There's a lot of times they drop them off under enemy fire. Like I say, we were just lucky to get something to eat, and we didn't even complain what we got either. It was manna from heaven. We started out the latter part of January 1943, and we was there. Well, I was transferred out. I had malaria. In May 1943, I had malaria, and I sure glad to get away from there. I only had 105 temperature. I only had 5 malaria attacks. But the closest I come to getting anything, a buddy of mine took his pencil one day and his fatigue jacket, they kind of stuck out like that. We could use a K-ration and put it in there. It was big enough to hold that. That was our dinner ration most of the time. But one day a buddy of mine took his pencil and right through the corner of the pocket. He said, "Buddy, they get mighty close." But that's the closest I ever know of. But no, I wasn't wounded. Oh, I got hurt. I had a broken bone in my back one time. I was going through the Himalayas. It practically rained every day. And you can't imagine what that was like. Our bed was a shoulder half and a blanket and a airbag. That was our bed from the latter part of January till the latter part of May.
So that whole time you were there, what were you doing in the area?
We was just traveling. It was the Japs. The Japanese were around everywhere there. And all we was doing just dodging the Japs. What we was doing. A wonderful life.
So did you see combat a lot when you met up with the Japanese?
Oh yeah, always. Yeah. I was with the commander of the fighting force. Well, I'm way ahead of myself. I should have mentioned when we went in, we was had three battalions we had, and each battalion had two combat teams. The first battalion was red and white, second battalion was blue and green, and the third battalion was khaki and orange. And I was with the commander of the khaki column. I was a radio operator for him. He was my foxhole buddy over there the first campaign in northern Burma. Then after that, it took us out for a rest area, and then we went back in combat again in central Burma. But second time we went in combat, we had a force of about 7,000 people. And but it was none like at first. I mean, at first, it was hit and run. That's why we did. No, I guess I was lucky to have a job like that. Lucky and unlucky. 47-pounder radio in mountains, along old trails that had been used for years. Rain every day. You'd roll your blanket up at night and it was wet. In the morning on the road it was wet. At night you'd use it again, it was wet. And it rained a lot.
Was it pretty cold up in the mountains?
Yeah, nights got very chilly. 8,000 foot, that's how high we were. I could show you right where we were all while I was in service. I got a book in the house. This book is his route when they built the Burma Road. Mm-hmm. That Burma Road was built mostly by women. And the men, they was all out, growing rice and this and that and the other thing. And the women was doing most work on the road. That road is just as level as this is right here. And it's all marble stone set on edge is what the Burma Road was. Take how it went from one end of it to the other. That Burma Road is 600 and some miles long. In fact, I rode a mule 550 miles. When the war was over, we had 900 mules that we took to Kunming, China. And well, we rode them, and we herded the mules. We didn't have no packs around, just mules in bunches. So you know, what do we do? We'd take a bell mare, and they put a bell on her, and those little mules, they just follow like. So all we had to just keep me in line with it. But I rode 550 miles on a mule along the Burma Road. I walked every inch of the Lido Road. That's the road that Americans built over. But the Burma Road, I rode a mule 550 miles. 550 miles. You won't hear many reports like that, I can tell you. We took 900 mules from where the war was over in Burma. I get trouble thinking of his name. I wonder why after all these years.
What were some of your most memorable experiences?
Staying away from bullets. That's one of the biggest things. See, I was with this commander with a khaki column all the way through. Till he got malaria and I didn't, and then we was at Mission when that happened. He went out a couple of days before I did, but I was with him during the first campaign, Northern Burma campaign. Then, when I left, the Mission airfield, I had a temperature of 105. Didn't hardly know which end was up. Then they put us in a rest camp for a while. And then they started this second campaign in central Burma, and I was with both campaigns, in northern Burma and central Burma, all the way through. They don't call it Burma now, but that's what you call it at that time.
So after you got malaria, did you just have to stay with your troop, or did they
No.
send you to?
No, they took us back to the hospital, and no, we was useless. sure glad it was somewhere we couldn't get out, because before that we didn't have no evacuation. Our wounded, sometimes we carried them along 3-4 days sometimes before, but then they'd have to get to a spot where they could level out, and bring in a light plane, and that's how they evacuated them. But you had to be pretty sick before they'd let you get out.
How long did you stay in the hospital when you got it?
I was in hospital several months.
Was the food there any better than it was?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was good food. When we first started out, we couldn't hardly eat because our stomach wasn't used to anything. Besides some old hard biscuits. It was all concentrated food is what it was. And like I say, we couldn't hardly handle that good food at first. Second time I went into combat, it was went out in May. Then we went back in combat in September. And I was with the second outfit about a year. But I wasn't nothing like the first time we did. Take that country from June to September, they had what they call a monsoon season. And it rained every day. I mean, rained. And no place to go, just a shelter it was all we had. It was wet at night when we rolled up, wet in the morning when we rolled up. And when we unrolled at night, it was wet. Morning was still wet. Nobody knows what that kind of living was like.
So what did you do to entertain yourselves when you were...
Where's the wire at?
Huh?
Where? It's behind you.
Still
Behind you.
still with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay. I figured you didn't want to lose that.
So when you had some downtime or anything, what did you guys do to entertain yourselves?
We had nothing to do but play cards, about the only thing we could do if we had cards. And I should mention this before. I had one buddy with me he was all through basic training. He was on a ship that was sunk together, and well, about 2 months ago we buried him. Him and I was together 70 years. I had an Army buddy who was 70 years. We met in basic training, we stayed together all the time. 37 months I was in service, we was right together. Hank Kinder was his name, you want to put that down.
You said Hank?
Hank Kinder. He was from Golden Eagle, Illinois, just south from St. Peter's, Missouri, just across the Mississippi River from St. Peter's. I seen him a lot after I got out.
So you guys would meet up. And...
He had a tavern and restaurant on the banks of the Mississippi River, sometimes in the river, not on. But a lot of times we couldn't go over on account of the ferry wasn't running. But we'd always get back together again. Yeah, and I had an old 53 Chevrolet I had for 29 years. And one time we was going to a reunion in Jordan's. He said, "What'd you do to that old truck you used to have?" I said, "Oh, I got to sit in the shed there at home." I said, "Why?" He said, "I'd like to have it." He said, "Well, come and get it." I only had the thing 29 years. And then 2 weeks later, you come and got it. And he fixed it up. It looked just like a new one. And that's what carried him to his grave. But the thing just looked just like a new one. Went it hauled him to his grave. He overhauled it. He overhauled it, painted it, everything. It just about looked like come out from factory in '53.
So when you guys would get together, did you guys ever talk about, your time in service, or did you not?
Oh yeah. Well, at the reunions and things like that, we went to quite a few reunions together. Oh, we talked about a little bit of everything. We traded tractors, we traded cars and trucks. We did that. This is only 50 miles from the bridge here to that ferry landing at Gold Eagle. That's where he had a tavern and restaurant. Gold Eagle is about 50 miles from the bridge here to that ferry landing. So we'd get to see him quite regular, but not anymore. I want to go down there sometime. Every boater in St. Louis knew where their place is at, their restaurant. No, I was glad to get back to these old hills. That's where I spent most of my time before I went into service. This place down the road here, you come this way, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was brought up at. Went down in the valley, that farm down in the valley. That's where I was born. 1921.
Now, when you came home from the war, had a lot of the area around here changed, or not really?
No, not too much. I got married in 1947, and this house, I built that in 1950.
Did you know your wife before you went off to war, or did you meet when you came back?
Well, I met her after I come back, but I knew her. Yeah. I remember the day she was born. It was 27 below zero. She just lived over the hill. You know where Rock House is? On South Point Road. That's where she was born.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember my dad come home. See, my dad was a dairyman, and we took milk up Missouri Valley Creamery. And Dad said, "Oh, I was go with that little girl last night." Didn't think it would be my wife someday. I think she was 8.5 years younger than I was. Wonderful lady. We had 6 kids, but we did. Well, we have 6 now.
So when you were overseas and you were in the mountains, did you ever get to receive mail at all from anyone back at home?
Yeah, I think after we was over about a month and a half, I think they gave us some mail one time. I should know how many letters I got, but because we never did get any mail though. From the time we left till we was there about month and a half, 2 months, something like that. When they dropped that, I had more mail than I could read for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I had hundreds of letters.
Were you able to send anything back, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. At that time, I think it was what they call email. You didn't do much writing there. Everything is censored. I was just glad to get back home again.
When did you get sent back home?
What?
When did you get sent back home?
I got back on the 7th of November, 1945.
What was that day like?
Nobody knows. We hit the States on the 7th, and I think I was discharged on the 11th. Glad to get back home. Before we left, we didn't have electricity or anything, and I'll never forget that night when I come home. Meantime, we got electricity, and you see lights everywhere around the country here. Before that, you'd only see a little lantern light here, a lantern light there. But then that's when we got electricity, in 1942. This is 44 when we come back.
So when you came home, was there any parades, or did your family have a party or anything like that?
None. Nobody celebrated. We was just glad to be home. Yeah. See, I hadn't been home for a little over 2 years. No, they didn't think about parties and things like that at that time. They was just glad we was back home. Never did think I'd see the other side of the world. But I did real quick. Those countries you never want to go to. You can sing, can you?
Do you have any fond memories of times you spent over there? Maybe with a buddy?
No. No. We were all in the same boat. We were just all glad that we was just alive. That's what it amounted to. We was just waiting for the day we could go home.
So after you got home, did you go back to work at the shoe factory, or what did you do?
No. I could have, but foreman begged me to come back. I said, no, I think I'll do something else. I worked in a shoe factory 2 years before I went in service. But my first job was working for a zero manufacturing company. They was started to make milk coolers at that time. I had all kinds of jobs in my life. I started work at Zero, and I stayed there about 5 years. And then I went to a gravel plant, Missouri, Illinois Material Company in Pacific. I just worked there 9 months. Then they ran out of material. Then had to look for a different job. And my next job I had was with Right Point Company. There's looking for people for a machine shop. I went from this gravel plant to Right Point Company. And at this gravel plant, I helped this daytime operator on his 5-foot drag line he was working on. I helped him a lot of repair, things like that. Take an older fellow and I, we was cleaning the dirt off the gravel down at Pacific. And it was about 10 foot of dirt on top of the gravel. And him and I was a drag line oiler. That's when I was working down there. And day operator, him and his son, they operated during the day. But when they had a repair job or something to do on a machine, this day operator, his son, they never did want to work on Saturday. It's just like the old man I was with, the operator. He never did want to work on Saturday. So I helped him all the time. And then when I left that gravel plant, that man must give me just one hell of a recommendation, because every job I was on either lead man or foreman or what. And thanks to the recommendation that old boy gave me, I just did the job I was supposed to do. And when I went to Right Point, I did the same thing. We started making mortar shells for, that's when the Vietnam War was going on. We made mortar shells, and we had four shifts. And there, they gave me a job as a repairman, keeping machines going. We had 14 automatic screw machines, and that took care of the tools and this keep machines going more or less. A lot of people say, how did you manage 4 shifts? Well, we'd work 5 days, we'd off 2. Change shift. Want something to kill you. That did. Like every week you'd change shift. You couldn't get used to anything at all. Yeah. At midnight shift, that was the worst. 7 to 11. That's well, it closed up there. The war was over, we didn't have the job. Had to go out and look for another job.
So do you think that after being in the Army, do you think that changed you when you came home at all? Or do you think you came back to the same guy?
I don't think it changed me. No. I didn't have none when I went in, and I didn't have none when I come out. I built this in 1950. I got out in 45. This was our first home. Got married in 47. My wife and I we built this in 1950. Since then, the daughter, she took it over. Well, the son lived here for a while. And the first wife, she passed away. And then he lived here for a while. And she passed away in 1996. Then I remarried, was remarried 14 years, and she passed away. So I was fortunate. I had 2 real good wives. I couldn't say which one was the best. They were both good ladies. First one was with me 48 years, and the second one 14. And then, well, daughter went come here and live with them because she had this out here, and she's got a son in Tucson, Arizona. He's only a doctor in science in Tucson. It's the only son she's got. But just those 2 were living out here at that time, and she said, well, you ain't got nothing where you're at. Second wife, she had 3 daughters, and they just tried to steal everything from me. My daughter here said, I don't think you need that. I said, no. And she has to come out and live with her. I got on heaven on earth here. She takes care of everything. Yeah, Wanda's a wonderful lady. fact, that girl, she went out to look for her first job. After that, she didn't have to look no more. Somebody else always got her job. Yeah. And she's working for accountant. Well, she worked for several different ones. But somebody else always found her job. Like when she's working for his accountant, he wouldn't go out when he had problems. He'd send her out. She's the type of gal, she's got the answer for you. That's what he liked. Yeah.
Now, did you or did anyone in your group receive any medals or awards for your service?
Oh yeah. We all got medals and things. I'll show them to you after a while if you want.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Want to see them. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I got a book the other week from my daughter. I don't know where she got it, but it showed all these places where I was overseas along the Burma Road. Is written one, is building the Burma Road. And I'll show you that book after a while. I'll take you in the house and show you some of my medals and things like that. Yeah, we got all kinds of medals. They didn't mean a thing. Nope.
And why is that?
What?
And why doesn't it mean anything to you now?
Well, they don't refer to the medals very seldom. Time like this is about the only time. Only time. Yep, those medals don't mean a thing. I guess it did help me when I applied for compensation. I didn't get no compensation until '04, I think. And that's when I started getting compensation. But how come I got that? I had a buddy that was with me overseas, and he told me, he said, I bet I can get somebody, get you some compensation. And he said, he gave me her address, a lady in Nebraska. And he gave her address. Well, I sent in the questionnaire that they sent. And see, I had a broken bone in my back. Can you imagine? Walking along these 12, 15 miles every day with a broken bone. Well, no evacuation. And he told me, he said, I'll bet you he said, I bet I'll get you some compensation. And then one day I was sitting there and the phone rang. A woman on the other end said, "You sitting down?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Maybe if you're not, you may want to sit down." I got check laid in the front of me here, $70,300. and they gave me 100% disability after that. Before that, I wasn't getting a thing.
Just stop you real fast so I can switch to.